Welcome to Mentality, the man's show. The world has become a global village with people of different cultures, races, religion, backgrounds, all interacting with one another very freely. But when it comes to the question of settling down, should these issues be a problem? Talking about religion, race, color, tribe, is that a problem? My name is Ian Bogua, and as usual, my co-hosts are Pastor S.
Hi, people.
And Edward Quach.
Hello.
What do the men on the street think?
It doesn't matter. Tribe and race is minimal because you never know where you will be born. You didn't choose to be born black, white, or yellow. So tribe and race doesn't matter when choosing a relationship partner.
I don't think it matters. Honestly, it's a union between two people. And once those two people have certain agreements with each other and they love each other, I think the rest doesn't really matter.
Race should not be an issue in a relationship. Reason being that you may be very strict on which tribe or very selective on which tribe you're trying to avoid, just to find out later that the person you're taking from your tribe is worse than the one that you avoided.
As usual, very varied.
Yep.
Very, very varied.
Right. You know, Ian, I think, Pastors, this is a very sensitive, of course, debate and a topic. But to me, it's three-tiered. When you talk about, we can boil it down to, first of all, tribe, race, and religion. Okay? So in terms of tribe, when is it not an issue? Yeah? But the question is, of course, we're talking about in this particular African context. When is it not an issue? But the question is, who is it an issue for? And of course, there's that generational divide. I mean, for those of you who are pre-independence types, like you, Ian, I mean, you know, it's always an issue. But and you just said it in your intro, as a global village, for me, it is not an issue. But for my parents, of course, it would be always an issue. So you've met so-and-so, huh? And you can't just say, I've met Jane.
Question
All right.
one.
Yes. Yeah. Jane who? And of course, from the surname, you'll find out where she's from. And if it's not a tribe that, quote unquote, conforms.
Is that...
Yeah, there's like catch-22. And then some will deliberately, immediately off the block say, that one, you can't marry.
Point blank.
And there are no two ways about it.
It's probably because of ethnic stereotyping.
Right.
So it's negative in that sense,
Right.
because there are some people would say our tribe is superior, so you
Right.
don't stoop low to
Right.
marry the other tribe.
Right.
But Quach, there's an issue even for our generation,
Right.
our Facebook generation.
Right.
We'll still have issues when your tribe
Right.
informs your values,
Right.
and then the values clash. The farther you come to me in the Facebook era,
Yes.
and you begin to say that in our tribe, this is what happens.
Right.
The lady is subservient.
Yes.
You don't speak. You're
Yes.
there to be seen.
Yes.
I don't cook
Yes.
at all. I don't
Yes.
get into the kitchen.
Yes.
It's going to be an issue because
Right.
we're going to say those things worked some
Right.
while ago.
Right.
No.
If you're still informed and
Right.
following the traits and values of that tribe,
Right.
then it's going to be a clash,
Yes.
even in our generation.
Right. So it's all that geopolitical nonsense as well, right? Now that is tribe. Of course, the issues now, as I like that, the Facebook generation, where it is bound to be an issue, and this is the one that I tend to find it's more clear-cut, is religion. Okay, because that one, you know, for example, if you know, if you're a man and you're a Christian, and then you meet a woman and she's a Muslim, we tend to find that you, even if you switch it, yes, most people, you've got to join the Muslim faith, okay? And then, of course, some people have issues with that, and that one tends to be a problem. But that one is very, you know, it's simple. It's
And
either
it's,
I'll make it,
and it's
I'll do it, or I
sensitive
will not.
as well, because
Yes.
both of you could decide to go to either religion.
Right.
But for me, the caution there is religion is dogmatic by its
Right.
very nature.
Right.
Culture, you could change and say, I don't like this from our tribe, I
Exactly.
like the other.
Yeah.
When it's a matter of religion and faith, then
Right.
you believe this is what I should be doing.
Right.
So if you don't buy into that and you want us to come together,
Yes.
from the good book, it says, how can two walk together unless they agree? If we have fundamental disagreements,
informed by faith, that means they're not likely to change.
Okay.
You're going to hold on to them for a long time.
So-
I think a couple should think twice before they get into that.
And I think changing religion just to get married, I don't think is right.
It's not.
Because I love this girl, she's Muslim. I really want to be with her. The only way I'm going to be with her is if I become a Muslim. Does that mean I will start going to being a practicing Muslim? I doubt it.
You know, that's the question I've got to ask you, Pastors, because, you know, obviously we assume you're a pastor of the Christian faith. And when couples come to you for premarital counseling and, you know, this religion comes up, how do you advise them when, for example, there's somebody of the Muslim faith that's involved?
Have you ever had such a case?
I have had. What I try to do is show them the clash of views and tell them there's going to be clash of views. Don't be naive to think just because you love each other, things are not going to come up. So I get to ask them questions like, where are your kids going to go to school? Is it madrasa or a regular school? What about the mosque or the church? What about what faith you want them to be brought up in? What about even the names, which can become a big issue?
Yes.
What names are you
Once you
going?
become a Muslim,
So through that, I let them see that this is going to be a clash of views. If you guys are not solving this before you get into this, it's going to get nasty down the road. So you either quit or resolve this issue. So that if someone needs to change religion, let it be out of conviction, not out of the pursuit of a woman. Because what happens if a few months down the road, then you don't like the woman? I mean, religion is greater than marriage. It covers all of life. And you need to know if you're changing religion, it's because of persuasion, not just to get a woman.
In terms of also when we talk about religion and of the tribal element,
Yeah.
it should be the case that she conforms to
the
his
man. But
religion and his culture, right?
in
Most of the
cases,
time, that's
you-
how it goes,
Right.
because of just what is obvious. In our culture, the man is a leader, and
Yes.
not just in our culture, even in most religions,
Yes.
the man is a leader.
He is the
So
boss.
it's really the ones who come to the man, the lady who comes to the man,
Right.
then who changes their religion.
Right.
But you see, in this age, then of course the lady will ask, why?
Right.
Why not mine as well?
Right.
That's why I'm saying it's tricky. It's probably good to avoid it,
Right.
to avoid
But
such
it's
kind
not
of
even, the
relationships.
clash is not even different religions.
Yeah.
It could be Christians, this one is Catholic, this one is Protestant,
Protestant, Anglican, yes.
Yeah.
this
yes.
is independent, this is, there's still clashes there.
There are still clashes. The differences are minor.
Yes, not as big
not
as-
as
but
big
still.
as two different religions, but they are still there. So my advice all the time is values are important. Don't marry a person where there's a serious clash on values, informed by tribe or by religion, and especially by religion. But Ian, we even talk about race these days.
Yes, race.
I find that a bit tricky in Africa.
Well, because, you know, this is Africa and we were colonized, all right? And, you know, we still have the, you know, we are still, a lot of us are still colonized in the head.
In the head.
And, you know, I basically, when it comes to the scenario of race, there, for example, there's some people who say that depending on what country you are in this, on this continent, like, for example, if you're in Kenya, there are certain races that basically don't like to mix, okay? And even in terms of where we're living and how we behave, they make it in such a way, they don't overtly say it, but, you know, they will tell you, like, for example, if you're living in, if you want to go and live in a certain neighborhood, you know, you must be a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Gujarati speaking.
Yes, you know.
No,
and
it is
speak
true.
this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 languages, all right? And of course, that will exclude everyone apart from people of that particular race, all right? So, for example, when I see somebody of Asian extraction, okay, and with an African, I say there, you know, you'll definitely do the double take. And especially if they look like there's a romantic inclination there.
Yeah.
You'll do the double take, and in fact, people sensationalize such stories.
And you see, to be fair,
Yeah.
it's not an entire Asian. I mean,
Yes.
Chinese don't bother,
Yeah.
and other
Yes.
tribes.
Yes.
But for sure, I agree. There's, unfortunately, we still have to deal with the superior
Right.
race and an inferior race.
Okay.
And unfortunately, some of our girls run for the guys from the West.
Yes.
Because they feel, even if the guy doesn't have more money than Kwach, they just feel it's not even about the money, it's just that you're white, so you're probably going to be more romantic, more chumt, you're going to have more money, or certain other things, which again is stereotyping.
Right.
Because even among the tribe, there's still terrible, useless men.
When I see Muzungu, black, prostitute, and this guy who just wants to take advantage because he's got a little bit of forex. So I just, I basically think these women are absolutely stupid.
And in some ways it's unfair because it's still a stereotype.
Right.
There's some people who get to love each other.
Right.
The guy is not a girl of the night.
Right.
The man is sober and okay.
Right.
And they fall in love.
Right.
And they decide we want to live together.
Yes.
That's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
But that is
unfortunately,
rare.
in this context,
Yes.
then it's going to be construed in the other way.
Yep.
But there are questions there, even when you come together
Yes.
between races.
Yes.
Because I also tell people, if you come together between races, you need to ask some questions. Views may not clash because probably you have the same faith and you agree in terms of values.
Right.
But what about just how you're going to bring up that child and the context of it? Because, for example, there are many couples in the West who have adopted black children. And you remove this black child from this context of Africa, take them to New York somewhere in a very different context. In many ways, you torture that child. It takes a long time for them to get used to it. So I also warn such couples and say, know what you're getting into.
So why is it rare then that we find, because the only instances where I see a African man with a Caucasian woman is either on the beach somewhere.
Beach boys, yes, with old, and they're always
old and tired.
The women are always
wrinkled
older.
like a prune. Okay, and it's either on the beach somewhere, or the woman is in Nairobi and she's a backpacker. You know what a backpacker is? She last showered last season. like 3 months ago.
Be fair to them,
yeah, it's like she walked from Europe. You know what I'm saying? But how come those ones are so rare if you say it is not a stereotype?
It's unfair until you can prove it, because it could be someone who is genuinely in love and in a relationship.
But when it comes, you can destigmatize that tribal element. But can you decolonize yourself mentally, Kweli? I mean, you're either white or you're black.
Hold that
or you're
thought.
brown.
Hold that thought. You're watching Mentality. We'll be right back. You're watching Mentality. Tonight we're looking at the different races and cultures and religion, whether they matter when choosing a life partner. Our guest this evening is Jackie Tom, who's an entrepreneur. Before we delve into this, let's hit the streets and see what ladies think.
When it comes to relationships, the issue on tribe is very controversial. But as we've grown up, we're not supposed to date someone according to where they come from. Our parents saying you should date this tribe, you shouldn't date this. I think it's not the right thing to do. You should just date someone according to your own, judging from your own good and wrong, So it's not supposed to be from a tribal thing.
Not at all. It's who fulfills your needs and who meets, your wants, and how you can go about living together in a fulfilling way. It's not about tribe, because you might miss that person in the same tribe you want to,
Well, clearly most of the ladies don't seem to have a problem.
Not in this generation.
No.
Well,
Jackie.
that's the generation of the future, isn't
Exactly,
it? Yeah.
exactly.
I think that's a very valid point, what that young lady's saying. I think today we've got a lot of issues with our sort of generation because of education, I think, You were talking about colonialism earlier.
Yes.
I would like to just say, no, forget about colonialism. The younger generation has got a lot to say about relationships today and how they're going into different marriages, etc., etc. we can't be backward in that way anymore. I mean, our parents are still hung on religion, hung on moral values in that respect, which I'm not saying that's not a good thing.
Right.
But yeah, you've got to consider what's going on in the world, the Facebook generation, social networking. It's a completely different world to what we're talking about.
That's right, Jackie. I think what we are saying is that as you get into a relationship, you need to know what are the beliefs of this person. It may not even be about the religion, the mainstream religion, but what do they believe in? Is it something I believe in as well? Am I willing to live with it?
Yeah.
About colonialism, you know what you were saying. It's probably some hang-ups we have carried over the time, and it's
Yeah.
good to examine ourselves and realize as I get into this relationship, especially cross
relationships. I mean, it's really up to us today to see how that fits into our world and how we can make that work. I mean, religion is one thing. For example, I mean, if I meet a Maasai guy, for example, and he's from the Loita Hills, for example, and he still wears a shuka, but he's attractive, he's a nice guy, I get on with him, he knows what he's doing. Where are you going?
Oh, let's arrest that development and let's talk about Jackie. Because I know why people find Maasai men attractive.
Well, you were talking about white women
no,
coming
listen,
on the beach on a backpack.
No, listen,
You
listen,
know.
listen. Okay, let's talk about Jackie first. Now, what's Jackie's tribe?
Jackie is half Kikuyu and half Muzungu.
Half Kikuyu and half Muzungu.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's Jackie's religion?
Christian.
All right. Now, what kind of relationship is Jackie in right now?
A marriage that works.
Okay. You're married to a
European man.
Okay. Have you ever dated an African man?
I have, indeed I have. He was a Luya man, strong as an ox.
Okay. That's because he was good at carrying furniture.
But, well, it depends what equipment you've got, you know. It's about the equipment.
Okay, now
okay,
this-
no, but okay, yeah, fine. So of course I went out in an African man.
Right.
But again, when I was growing up, it was
Right.
very difficult
Right.
to we were brought up in white schools.
Indeed,
Okay.
indeed.
So there's a lot of things that are going on there with your education,
Right.
with the opposite sex.
Right.
You know, you're brought up in this white education and you think, oh, I don't know if I can go out with an African man
Right,
because your
right.
morals, your ideals have been set that way.
Right. Now, Jackie, you've got children
Yes, I have three
with
daughters.
with your husband.
No, none with my husband.
Right.
These were men that were, you know, chosen.
Okay, or the chosen few.
Yeah, they were the
Now-
chosen.
Now, of the chosen, what? So, are your children?
I have a very African-looking daughter.
All right.
Okay,
All
and
right.
she's half Luya and half me.
Okay.
Stunning, tall, Nilotic-looking
Right,
girl.
right.
And then my other two look like Italians, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
And in terms of when it comes to the dating scene, then,
Mm.
how will you approach that, or how do you approach it? I don't know how old they are, but how do?
Well,
will
my
you,
eldest is
yeah.
24.
Okay.
She's a soldier, was a
Right.
soldier.
Right.
She's been in South Carolina, North
Right.
Carolina.
Right.
So, what do you mean? I mean, I think for them, again,
If
it's
she
about...
came home with a
She's come home
with a Sikh from,
As long
you
as
know,
he's all right,
yes,
I don't have a
from
problem.
the Punjab.
But if he starts doing all of this
Right.
thing like this, like this, like this, I don't
right,
know, you
yes,
know. I
yes,
don't know
yes,
if he's going to
yes.
have a problem
Right.
with
no,
us.
But, no, but would you have a problem?
No, I wouldn't,
He's
because
got his turban and everything.
I respect
you know,
where he
right,
comes from.
right,
I admire his
right,
religion. I
right.
admire his background.
Right.
His background is ancient.
Right.
It comes from something that's
Right.
real, as us with Africa.
Yes.
I think even the Facebook generation
Yeah.
has some biases. It may not be racism, but some biases about certain kind of people, especially what they wear and where they come from and what their accent is. I've talked to those young people, and because of cultural views and where the world is, a Western versus the Eastern and stuff like that, we are being dragged into these cultural clashes. So you find even them, they have issues to deal with, your daughters and the rest. Some of them may not have a problem, but some of them will still look at someone from a certain part of the world with a
Yeah.
certain prejudice.
I think, again, it's all education. I mean, my daughter, like all of us, we've been to a private school, okay? She's not going to go out with somebody from a school that has been government, okay? Because where are you coming from? It's just going to be different, and that's the reality. And that's got nothing to do with race. It's about education and where you're comfortably at within your environment.
It's a different kind of prejudice. And It's probably
Absolutely.
not the education.
Absolutely.
It's the fact that they may not relate at a certain
Yeah,
level
you've got to
with
have
certain
something in common.
Okay.
Your parents,
Yes.
how was their marriage?
Not easy. Not easy at all. Very difficult. In fact, divorce. My father basically was ostracized from his community. So was my mother. My mother, being an African, as you said,
Yes.
black woman,
Yes.
white man,
Yes.
prostitute.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, if that's your thought,
Right.
then you haven't moved on. It's easy for the European man to
Right.
come here to marry a local girl.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Yes.
she's not going to do the same thing as a white woman
Right.
and say that you have to get up and clean the baby, you have to
Right.
do this. We're still very traditional in that way. We still love our home. We still love those traditional values. We still like to cook. We still like to make the homemaker. That European man coming home to Africa or coming into that society is living life again. It's
Right.
like it's a refreshment. It's like you've been... And what about African man marrying white women? You've got those two, you know, when they
Yes.
go out into
Yes.
missionaries, for example.
Right, right.
You've got the guy that's been educated, the Kenyan man that's been educated in Boston. He comes back, he's met the American woman over
Right,
there.
right.
They come back to Kenya. That white woman, European, American, whatever she is,
yes.
she has to rethink her way of thinking,
Right.
her values.
Right.
She's an American. She may not want to have her dishes this way, maybe
Right.
not serve the bread
Right.
that way.
Right.
He's used to that. So what happens there? He gets frustrated with her, starts chuppering her in the house,
Right.
and he starts going on the dogo side.
All right.
I hear you, and I think, Jackie, what I wanted to say here is globalization has helped,
Yeah.
but we still have hangovers.
Of course we do.
We still have prejudice, even in our modern Facebook age. I think the big thing to say is before you get into this relationship, understand that. Understand what you're getting into. Understand that you might be ostracized in some cases.
Yeah.
You may go through a lot. And then ask yourself, am I willing to deal with it? Once you're ready to deal with it, then you have enough commitment to sustain a relationship, Coach. Whatever others feel. I think there's a beauty in you wanting to discover another culture. And that's positive in bringing society together and the globe together. Because we are a global village, really.
That's right.
And the fact that I'm fascinated about the French or about the Asians or about other people, and I decide, let me get into a relationship. We agree on fundamentals, but let me discover this. There's a beauty in that, in spite of the persecution you might go through. And I think it's something that we should encourage in our continent. Instead of ostracizing such and making it look like you're all prostitutes.
Coming from Kenya, being brought up in Kenya, we are an extremely lucky country because we're not South Africa, we're not West Africa, we're not North Africa, we are East Africa, and we are Kenyans, and we have been very lucky to have been able to have been brought up with race relations being so exposed in the 1960s. We've had to live with that. And we have grown to live with each other, with Asians, with Arabs, with Somalis, now with Chinese. You know, we've got all sorts of things going on in Kenya. And we've had that opportunity, whereas other nations are still going through that. They're still trying to come through that.
Gentlemen, lady, time is up as usual. So let's have closing remarks. Start with Kwach.
Well, I think, like I said at the very beginning, and I think with Jackie being here, we've just reinforced that. In terms of religion, that is, no pun intended, it's either black or white. You will or you will not. In terms, of course, of tribe, that is a personal decision, and we've agreed it's not about the family, it's about you and the respective better half, and see how that goes. But as far as race is concerned, you know, Jackie's more liberal than most. But I still think that is still a major issue, and that's the one that needs to be dealt with critically.
Right. Pastor.
Relationships are important. All of us value them. Race, religion, culture, tribe. Ask yourself, am I willing to deal with this? Are there fundamental clashes in terms of views? Once you've addressed that, go on and have a great time in your relationship.
Finally, Jackie.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show, Mentality.
No final words?
No final words, because I think it's a journey.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show. You've been watching Mentality. Until next week, good night.